Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are back for their fourth outing as detectives Mike Lowry and Marcus Miles. This time, they're fugitives from justice on a mission to prove the innocence of their late captain, Conrad Howard, who's been posthumously accused of corruption and working with drug cartels. It's Bad Boys, Ride or Die. I'm Ronald Young Jr., and I'm leaving the theater. Check. All right. This is Ronald, and I'm leaving the theater after seeing Bad Boys Ride or Die. Bad Boys Ride or Die. Written by Chris Bremner and Will Beall. Directed by Adil and Bilall. Starring Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, Vanessa Hudgens, Alexander Ludwig, Joe Pantoliano, Paola Nunez, Eric Dane, and Tasha Smith. And, as usual, for a complete cast listing, you can go to the link in our show notes. I'm not here alone.
It's Jonquilyn. It's JQ.
I'm here with...
It's Jonquilyn. It's JQ.
Welcome back to the show.
I'm so happy to be here.
We picked a good movie for us, and for you in particular. You have seen now 3 of the 4 Bad Boys.
Yeah. So, okay, I was telling Ronald this going into the movie, but growing up during the summer, my family and I, we were a big Blockbuster family, so we'd get VHS, DVDs, and we would each pick a movie. And, like, the fan favorites that we would have every summer, one would be Friday, the first one, and the other one would be Bad Boys 2. So I've seen Bad Boys 2 quite a bit. I'm quite deep on Bad Boys lore. I'm more familiar with that lore than Furiosa lore, which I will circle back to because I'm making a relevant comparison, even though it will not seem that way.
Okay. For those unfamiliar with the Bad Boys cinematic universe, Martin Lawrence and Will Smith are the aptly named Bad Boys. It's funny because I was sitting there watching the movie and I realized that this is actually a spinoff of a theme song of a show about cops.
Oh yeah, like one thing I will say, it is extremely Copaganda, and that did not click with me until, probably for a lot of us until fairly recently, but you watch it and you're like, oh, they're police. That never registered with me when I was initially watching them, the fact that they're cops, but they're cops.
They're also corrupt cops, if you think about it. Like, the rules don't apply to them. They can push the envelope as far as they want, and we're rooting for them to do it because it's in the name of our safety.
Oh, baby. If the Innocence Project got a hold of the arrests that they have made, it'd be done deal. Done deal. Like, long read in the New Yorker, this is corruption. Like, not good.
So, what did you think of this movie? This is the 4th one. I would say... You know what, I'll go into that critique in a second. What did you think of this 4th movie?
You know, I really enjoyed it. So I've seen Bad Boys 1 and Bad Boys 2. I did skip Bad Boys 3.
That would be Bad Boys for Life.
Bad Boys. I thought this was Bad Boys for Life.
This is Bad Boys Ride or Die.
Oh, okay. So I missed Bad Boys for Life. But before I came to the movies, I read the Wikipedia summary, and I'm glad I did because, again, lore. I really enjoyed it, and I know that part of my enjoyment was the fact that, like, I was along for the ride with these characters for so long, which is why I will say, like, that pulls me to Furiosa. I saw Furiosa without ever seeing a Mad Max, and then I went and watched Fury Road because Furiosa made me excited to watch Furiosa hit the street with her, like, crew of bad bitches. And after I saw Fury Road, I liked Furiosa a lot more. And so I think there's some movies where you just have the lore and it makes it more of an experience. And you would not think of Bad Boys having a lore, but it does. There were so many callbacks. Like, there's even a scene towards the end that is very reminiscent of a scene in Bad Boys 2. And it was just, it's so heartwarming to see those things come full circle.
Yeah, they used the shot that was very, as soon as you see the shot, if you've been a part of Bad Boys, you know exactly what's happening. And actually, I would argue that there is a scene in this movie that is so gratifying to watch, like that the entire audience burst out into applause in a way that I don't think I've heard since Captain America picked up the shield in Avengers Endgame. So it was, I mean, and people were very enthusiastic about what was about to happen. You could tell people were kind of like tongue-in-cheek, like, oh, is this thing about to happen? And then this thing actually does happen, and everyone's like, yes, we wanted this thing to happen. And I think, honestly, that is indicative of this entire movie, because it starts off trash. Like, from the beginning, I'm like, here we go. This is Bad Boys 3, Bad Boys for Life all over again. It's just two old men telling jokes, being out of touch with the world, still thinking that the buddy cop movie works, any of that stuff. And I mean, in the beginning, I'm thinking, I almost whispered to you 1 of 5 stars. Does the buddy cop movie work anymore? Why are we still doing this? This is Lethal Weapon, but worse. We're going down a path. But this movie, it justifies its existence like every 20 minutes. It just gets a little bit better, a little bit better.
Yeah, I gotta say, okay, going in, and maybe I shouldn't do just the Will Smith or Martin Lawrence, because they both have television programs that if it's a Saturday night and I'm home on the couch, I'm turning on. My expectations were low, and I was like, you know what? Let me not do that to them. Like, and maybe it was so good because my expectations were low. I was like, here we go, some old guys. How's this going to be a problem? How's it going to be? But it was fun, and they acknowledged their age. Like, there's this ongoing joke with Martin Lawrence where it's like, you shouldn't be eating that. And like, I think a lot of us who have dads like have moments where we're like, sir, where did you get those chips? Put that down. And so like it talked about their morality. It also was like, I'm a sucker.
Mortality?
Yeah, I meant mortality. I can read. But I'm also a sucker for, one of my favorite phenomenons is black men being friends with each other. Honestly, that's probably why I'm friends with you, Ronald, because I see what good friendships you have with other black men, and I'm like, I love that. Keep doing that, guys. And I love just observing. I'm just like, ugh, look at y'all being friends. And so it had that element, and I was like, oh, like, there's a moment in it where Martin Lawrence's character Marcus says to Mike, like, we're soulmates, and it's like, yeah. Y'all are soulmates. Yeah. You are.
I like that. I think there's a lot of parts of this movie that are definitely heartwarming. This is a movie that this does what Will Smith does best, which is if you go on his Instagram, what he does well with his Instagram is let other people curate it sometimes. And he always that's how you get so many relevant things happening with Will Smith over and over again. You get the fact that he's working with Kev on stage. He's working with Tony Baker, two comedians who are very prominent in the social media community, as well as just like two prominent comedians right now. And then in this movie, you get like a couple of cameos because of that.
There were some really good cameos. Like some you do expect, some there was one like a TikTok cameo where I was like, what?
Yeah.
What are you doing here? But
you actually said that's a burst of joy.
Yeah, like I was like, oh, I like that guy.
No, you said that sparks joy. That's what you said.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but it was great.
Yeah, it was good. I think when you get to the one thing I will say is like, it was good. It was funny. I like when they were cracking jokes. I think we came with a good audience who was laughing a lot. Sometimes the laughs were so loud that I would miss the follow-up or the second punchline and all that, which I don't like sometimes. I want to hear the rest of the joke because I want to keep laughing. And sometimes I'm sitting there like reading their lips as everyone's uproariously laughing over the first one and like kind of hoping that I get the rest of the joke. But that's not a knock against the movie, really. That's really a knock against the audience being ready to laugh. And in some cases, like the guy behind us just...
The people surrounding us it's very much like and it depends on where you go because you can't do this anywhere, but it's a place where an interactive audience is nice. Like, you know, I can see this as a movie where you're like, oh, I'm home, it's streaming, let's watch. Like, this is the kind of movie where if I'm home for Christmas, my parents and I are going to put on. But I will say, if, like, you have the money to go see a movie, if you got your little AMC Stubs membership, go. And, like, but make sure it's a good theater. Like, you know, like if you're in D.C., it's a Chinatown on a Friday night type of movie.
Ooh, that's a good one. Gallery Place?
Yeah, go to Gallery Place.
Yeah.
Go to the Gallery Place Regal.
Yeah.
And get a good crowd on like a Friday or a Saturday. Buckle in, get you a popcorn and a little soda. You'll have a great time.
That's a good idea. They could do the Birmingham one, the one me and you went to for what you call. I think that would probably be a good crowd over there. It's in a mall, so I feel like that crowd is going to like pull families. You honestly made me both bittersweet, thinking like that my mother would have loved this movie, but I know my father will 100% love it. So I'm definitely going to show it to him. So that's exciting. With all of that being said, out of 5 stars, how do you rate this movie?
I am going to give it a 3.5. Out of 5.
See, what I like about you, Jonquilyn, is that you rate movies very fairly, even though you show, because I try to tell people, they'll be like, you said you liked it, but you gave it 3 stars. And I'm like, I think you guys don't understand, like, I could really like something and still see where it's deficient and still see where it doesn't work. And some parts of this don't work. So I really appreciate your 3.5 because you feel more enthusiastic about this movie than me, but I have a higher rating than you. Yeah. Because mine is a 3.75.
Yeah. Well, okay. Because for me, a 5-star is like, oh, I need to be like moved to tears. Like, you're showing me 2001: A Space Odyssey. Yeah. You are showing me Citizen Kane. You are showing me Eve's Bayou. Yeah. Like, we are like like I'm watching this movie, and after this movie, I'm leaving transformed.
Leaving the theater?
Yeah, I'm leaving the theater transformed. So for a 5, I need to leave the theater transformed. And I had a great time, but my life was not changed.
I agree. I think this is a 3.75. I think this is a movie, like 3 being good, let's get out. But this is very much a J.C. Howard, the movies are back. Go see this. A Bad Boys is in theater in summer 2024. It's not 4th of July weekend, but get out there and see it. I would say 3.75 for me represents that. It could have been a 4. This could have been a great movie, but there's ways in which it just was not good. Like, there's just parts of it. What I've noticed about these last 2 movies is they feel very sparse of background characters in a way that makes the environment seem very much like a movie set. So like there's everyone you see is meant to be on the camera, whereas in Bad Boys 1 and 2 it felt like they were more operating within a world in ways in which these last 2 movies have not been. And I've just noticed that, it's not something, I mean, it's not the huge knock against the movie, but it's enough to say like it, in ways it feels like, yeah, this is definitely a movie, which, and sometimes I like it to be a little more gritty. When it's being funny, it's very funny, but also when it's, I like it when it's taking itself a little more seriously, when the stakes are a little higher, and they do that well. I think in Bad Boys 2, the way that's represented is as soon as he says, yo, it just got real, they got my sister, and they're taking a sister across the state, across country lines, you know what I mean? So once that happens, I'm just like, okay, this is, we are a different territory. It's not just them cracking jokes. They have to go do something serious. And this movie starts to get there a little bit, which I really appreciate. But undercutting itself a bit because it has to be funny, and the ways in which I think Martin is like kind of in some ways reduced to being a bit of a buffoon at times, in ways that I'm like, I think you're a little bit better than that, but he's ready to get a check, and that's not disrespecting him, get your money. But there was parts where I was just like, okay, and that's the only things that make it like great. I mean, good, not great.
Yeah, I think when you mentioned the thing about the background actors, I was like, oh, they used that budget on pyrotechnics. I was surprised by how good I found the action scenes. I was ready to not be, because Michael Bay did not direct this. And I was like, what's this going to be like? You got to remember, I didn't see the last one. But I was like, okay, look at that. I like that. The car's on fire. They doing all types of, they jumping. There's gators. We had a great time. Lots
of practical effects. I like those. And I will say, I now encourage you to go back and watch Bad Boys for Life, because I'm very interested to know your take on that as a part of the canon, because I think that this is the 3rd best Bad Boys movie. I think if they would have made this after 2, like this movie, Bad Boys 4, definitely guarantees that there will be a 5. And I think if the budget, I mean, if it does well in the theater, but I think movie-wise, it's good enough to make a 5th one.
Can I tell you what I think the 5th one will entail?
More Reggie?
Reggie and the son are going to team up.
I could see that. The only problem is I don't think either of those two have that much screen charisma.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, Reggie, I like him, and we like his face, and he does facial expressions, and what he did in this movie was pretty cool, but there's something about he's not really a star.
The thing about Reggie, I'm like, you know what? This is what happens when you persist.
Yes.
Not even like the actor, but the character. I'm like, look, he withstood that picking his daughter up. That was just the first step. And look at you now, Reggie.
Look at the glow up, as the kids say. And with that, Leave It in Theater is a production of OhitsBigRon Studios. I am mixing this episode once again, and if you're listening and you're like, this could be better, I don't know how good this is. There was music in the beginning, and now there's not. Oh my goodness. How is it spliced together? Just know that it's me, an amateur mixer, mixing this episode. And if you wanted professionals to do it, you should join the Patreon. Even if you still want me to mix the episode, join the Patreon anyway. We are out here, we meaning me, is out here making a podcast episode for you every week, telling you about the movies. Some of y'all been listening for years, chipping some of that money. Very easy. Go to www.patreon.com/leavingthetheater or go to the link in our show notes. Every little bit helps. Show art from Heather Wilder. Theme music by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. For more information about Bad Boys, Ride or Die, or Jonquilyn Hill, check out our show notes. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or Threads at OhitsBigRon. That's at OhitsBigRon. You can find out more about this show and other OhitsBigRon Studio shows by following us on Instagram at OhitsBigRon Studios and on Twitter at OhitsBigRon Stu. That's STEW. Leaving the Theater will be back soon. Thanks for listening. And thanks for being on the show while scrolling your little phone over there.
Tee-hee-hee, I was reading about Reggie on Wikipedia.
Did you find out anything good?
No, because the world hasn't seen the movie yet, but I can't wait for Reddit once it does.
Yeah, this is going to be good. There's going to be some good things.